How's everyone's afternoon going? I wanted to ask, whose first time is it at PyBay? Awesome. Cool. So yeah, thanks for coming to my talk. How many of you went to PyCon this year? Marietta, yeah. Okay, 3 of you. So I was there also, and they have something called an open space. And at open spaces, you can talk about basically get a group together at a certain time, and you can talk about anything you wanted. And so I was browsing, taking a look at like what were the topics, and there was a topic on Django auth. And I work at OCTA, and that's pretty much all we do there, mostly. But funny story, I went into an open space, and I was surprised to see a healthy group of people, like maybe 10, and I was like, wow, everybody wants to learn about auth. It's, it's not a popular topic, look at the room, but yeah, I knew I was in the wrong room because they were doing Taro, and I was like, I guess you could talk about anything you want at PyCon. So quickly realized I was in the wrong room, went into the right room, and I heard questions like, what is OpenID Connect? There was the one woman who was the host, and she was tasked to authenticate a federal login app. And in that federal login app, it involved money, so some Fed Reserve money, and she was tasked the most important task, which is logging users in. And so she wanted to know how to use Django, add OpenID Connect, what is an identity provider, what are the libraries available, the Python libraries available to make this work. So that is kind of a response to this from that open source at PyCon. And so, yeah, who am I? And also this talk is for this community. So I've done that. I've been at PyBay for a while, and really excited to now speak here. So who am I? What you're seeing here is an ID token. It's kind of the core of the OpenID Connect protocol, and it allows information to be passed in this cryptographically signed token to web applications and mobile apps. So information about a user and what they're allowed to gain access to. So you can find a user's name, like, for example, my name. I'm a developer advocate at OCTA. Yeah, come on in. And I love Ultimate Frisbee. This is just an example. This is maybe too much information, but yeah, the great thing about me working at OCTA, we're an identity access management provider service. We acquired Auth0. My side is mainly logging in enterprise employees, so maybe you use OCTA. Does anybody use OCTA? 1, 2? Yep, okay, great. Anybody use Auth0? 1. Okay, great. That seems like half-half, yeah. But so yeah, I get to advocate for developers using our product. Auth0 is easier to use, but that's why I have a job, and I'm helping developers integrate with our product. So how do we manage identity in SaaS apps today? So say that you have an app, and you're anybody building an app, anybody building with Django? Yeah, okay, it's relevant. So maybe, so for the rest of us, if you have an app, it's you want to sell it to enterprise level companies or customers, how do you do that? Where do you go to read? Like where do you even start? Like beyond passwords, because we're moving away from passwords now. So hopefully you're following a standard security protocol. These protocols are written by the Internet Engineering Task Force. They're like the UN of the web, and they come together and they decide, how to pass information about a user in the web securely. So, and maybe you're not building auth yourself, and you're not, managing user reset and stuff like that, that maybe you're using an identity provider like OCTA or Google or Facebook or even Auth0. So, and for a particular set of users, enterprise company users, they probably are using an IDP, an identity provider like Okta. Why? Because there's a lot at stake. There's, company reputation if you have poor security in your login, and information about your users or your company information gets leaked. There's, there's a lot of liability there. So yeah, this is the way for for enterprise users to log in. So if you want to sell to these companies, you need to have a way to use their IDP to log users in. And so what do these IDPs use? And they use a standard protocol called OpenID Connect. And so OpenID Connect is an authentication protocol. It's built on top of OAuth 2.0. So before time, there used to just be an authorization framework, and not anybody can just gain access to endpoints, right? So, so for secure login, you would need to know who is logging in and what you're allowed to have access to, and that is kind of OpenID Connect's role. So again, authentication we know can be found through an ID token, information about a user, and then authorization is an access token to be able to go provide to an endpoint, and then in the authorization header before you have access to a certain resource. So think of it as a layer. And when I think of it as a layer, I think about this like yummy metaphor, cake. And so yeah, like when I was learning this as a developer support engineer, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so hard to read this documentation. Like, it's so, yeah, it's not very straightforward, but this is how I kind of learned. So think of OIDC as the frosting to the OAuth 2.0 cake. Sure, you can have it separately, but they're better together, and they complete that identity access management solution. So identity access management cake. And so what is so good about this OIDC icing is that it standardizes scopes, standardizes claims, so information about a user, what you can know about them. And so why is that important to standardize this? Because you're passing around the internet. So in the IETF, they're deciding on these rules, and you follow these rules, you'll be able to interoperate with different systems. So user context stored in an ID token, just like what I showed you, and it also comes standardized with specific endpoints. So this one is a user info endpoint where you can pass in an access token to get more information about a user. The trade-off is you're passing information, you're not storing it in your database, and so you can use that information to gain access to a resource and be done with that. So, and it's also cryptographically signed so that the entity that signs these ID tokens it certifies that they signed it through a private key and a public key match, so more security. So if you've ever watched The Fifth Element, when I think about an ID token, it's like Leeloo Dallas's multipass into the universe. And so this is your multipass into the web. And so again, building off of the OAuth 2.0 flow, there is a protocol that we use to interoperate with the IDP. So first, there's your application makes an authorized call to Okta or any IDP. Could be Google, could be Auth0. And then the user will consent to logging in, and then Okta will send a code back to your application. And that code is then sent to the token endpoint with the client secret. Not anyone can go into this endpoint, and then at the end, you'd get an access or an ID token, and then you can be able to use that access token into your resource server. So here is an example authorization request. You pass in the standard claims OpenID, email, profile, and you get information about a user, their name, their email, just again, information that you could use in your downstream apps. And here it is decoded using our jwt.io tool, and I'll show you that later. So demo time. All right, so first of all, I want to talk about the libraries that I chose. I first started out with Mozilla Django OIDC, and I don't normally give up. I'm very persistent, and I gave up. So the docs were just too much. I just couldn't figure it out in time, and so like last week, I decided to Google Django, OIDC, and lo and behold, referring back to Auth0, and they had a quick start guide, and so that's what we're going to demo today. So as a developer advocate, I'm doing the hard work with you. I'm looking out for like how hard it is to integrate with Okta or Auth0, but Auth0, man, chef's kiss, just has everything so good. So, okay, before we also do the demo, I want to talk about setting it up with Okta. I had to get a developer account and many, many steps. Would like some feedback if you do use Okta. But anyway, back to this demo. Okay. I want to talk about how I set this up. So it was under views that I instantiated the OAuth object and then passed. Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. Okay, how about that? How's that look? How's that good? Yeah? Okay, cool. So it's in the views.py file that we import the OAuth library from auth and I'll show you their documentation after. I'll show you what I mean. But anyway, so we instantiate that object and then pass it in to log in, the login route. So I have 4 routes here. That was so easy to set up. And I'm not saying that I'm a Django expert at all, but like this took no time, was able to add OIDC login. But see how I replaced Auth0 with Okta here. You can do that for Google. The docs show you how to set that up. And so in the login request, so I have 4 routes here: the login, the callback. Remember, this is where we get that code and then make a request to the token endpoint to obtain tokens. And then we have a logout route. So this route will clear the user's session and also with session within the app and Okta. Single logout between the IDP and the app. And then here's this handy route that you'll also see. That just returns the information about the token, the user token. So let's, okay. So let's run this and see what happens. I ran this so many times. Last night it wasn't working, but this morning the demo gods have been nice to me. But I heard there is no demo god. There's just one god, and it's called rehearsal. So here we are. Oh, okay, wait a minute. I want to show you something. In the network tab, preserve log, I want to show you that request going to Okta. So there it is, real quick. We went to the login page, and then we made that authorized request to Okta. And here's Alicia hotkeys about to log in. So, so many perspectives here, but this is the perspective of a user. We, the developers, use that auth library to enable this login redirect to Okta. And then, so yeah, Alicia Hockey's logged in, and she's redirected back to the app where we can read her information about her token. So, and what's cool is that when we acquired Auth0, we also acquired their tools. So we got this handy dandy token encoder. Let's see. And let's just steal this. We're not stealing, we're demoing an access token encoding, decoding. And yeah, it's not anything like you didn't see already, but it says it was signed, it has a key ID, it was signed by this kind of method. Is this big enough? It's huge. Oh, okay. Management, okay. Okay, screen management. All right, so network tab, the jwt.io. So it also made a request to the token endpoint. That's a backend request. So we're not passing secrets in the front end. That's going to be a backend request. So you didn't see that, but you know that it came back to our application. And what's really nice is this auth-lib library just does everything for us. It even verified that the token is valid from the IDP. So, much more time? 13 minutes, still good. Was it in views? Yes. 2. Okay, we're behind. Okay, all right. What else did I want to show? Okay, well, anyway, how did the app know where to go to request the token endpoint? It went to a public metadata URL, and this is where it would find all the necessary endpoints to call. All right, so let's also log out of the application because I had an idea come to me and inspired me to show you this web page. See, so by logging out, we log the user out of their application and the IDP session as well. And it redirected me to this endpoint where you can put it to your login page if you want, but I was excited to share that we have Dev Day happening. So here's my call to action. It's happening next week on the 24th of 2024, a 24-hour virtual event by Auth0. We're going to be talking about new products, but also all things authentication, authorization. It's going to be some awesome swag. I'm also going to do a lab, so if you want to see me again. But let's finish up here. Yeah, okay. I showed you that. Okay, yeah, so again, OIDC extends the OAuth 2.0 framework. It adds that ID token piece. If you don't want to read the massive standard protocol online, maybe you want to, and you don't want to do auth yourself, maybe just let an IDP like OCTA or Auth0 do it for you. And I wasn't taught this at my bootcamp when I started off making like apps, but when you build an application, you might want to consider, or now that I'm working at OCTA, please have login best practices. So have security from the start. So thank you, and I have some resources, and yeah.